All right. Hi, guys. I'm Trevor, and this is Chris, and we're the Sonic Truth. Justin's not here with us today, but we do have a very special guest who was taking over your Instagram feeds last month, and that is Mr. Ben Folds.
Hey. Thank you. Good to be here. Good to be here. Please.
Golf clap.
Golf clap.
Golf clap. Not in unison.
No, please.
We do music.
Yeah, we do music.
Music tools.
Now, are you an online guy?
What do you mean?
Like,
I'm online now for sure.
Oh yeah, right, yeah, for sure. I mean, like when you were, do you doom scroll Instagram ever?
Oh no, not really. I kind of stopped doing that. You know why I stopped is because I was getting so excited about some of these crazy feeds I was getting, like, just a crazy situation where, like, maybe a woman is mugged and then she turns around and kicks their ass and gets her purse back. And I thought that stuff was real. And I found out that it's not. And I was pretty upset by that. It's really because I don't want to see that stuff anymore. A lot of the dog stuff now, I'm looking at it going, have they superimposed or AI'd like a certain face? Because I would scroll through lots of dog stuff. That's not doom scrolling. That's dog scrolling. But no, I'm off the juice now, people. I just look at your AudioScape, gear porn sometimes and consider a purchase. That's about it.
Ah, man. Well, I mean, is that how you found us? Like Instagram or?
No, I had the producer and engineer of most of my records had some of your stuff, and it was getting used a lot. So I looked into it. Turns out you're pretty good.
Oh, thank you. I mean, you want to do it right the first time.
Pretty good. It's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, you pretty much have everything that we make now. That's why I was very excited to talk to
the people who do this.
Just about,
Yeah, is there any requests that you want us to make?
Shit. I've got this pair of EAR, I guess there's EAR 660s, esoteric audio research. Do you know those?
Yep.
It's basically like it was supposed to be the answer to an old Fairchild, but I prefer them. But they cost too much. But I've had them for years and years, and they're really great. It was interesting. I was going back and forth between one of those and the ASA 6A for a vocal thing I was mixing, and I ended up going with your thing. It's stunning.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the 6As, that was a lot of years of development for sure. And yeah, that's I think it's a completely different beast than the older RCAs in the sense that you can do so much more with them, but you could still get that stock sound if you want it.
Yeah.
You got to look at the silk screen on the scale plates. It's really tiny, but you could still set it there if you want to.
Right. Yeah. No, I saw that. I had to get out the glasses that I have to get for, all my medications. But yeah. So I know y'all don't like to talk about gear, but I really like that thing, and it's already made its way into something that I'm turning in for a kids TV show. I've got an NDA and stuff on a super top secret. Can't tell anybody. I know. No, I can't say anything. I can't say what it is. But the
super top secret kid show.
Super
yeah.
top.
How'd y'all end up doing? What's that? Yeah, super top. Yeah, it's a top secret kid show. Yeah.
That's the name of it. And you're like, but I signed an NDA. I can't talk about it.
That's right.
Oh, what was your question?
I don't know. I was wondering how y'all got started doing this business here. Very interested in that. Y'all probably talk about that all the time. But
severe gas, gear acquisition syndrome. Just wanted this stuff. Really couldn't afford it. Like, and, starving artists, I was just so I was building guitar pedals first for like 5 years and selling those, and then just had a couple producer friends that wanted some tools and started making them, and just sort of evolved naturally that way, and just sort of kind of got out of hand really quick. not too quick, but it just sort of got out of hand where it was just starting in a single car garage, just, built something, didn't even have money for silk screen, on a panel, used inkjet water slides, and then sold that piece, used the money to buy some formal cases, and just kept rinsing and repeat doing the same thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, man, that's how all of them started. I mean, I really enjoyed watching this old Rupert Neve interview about how he got started, and he's like, trying to find a place to source the color knobs that he wanted, and get in his car and driving halfway up the UK to find those, like, just to do it for one studio. And things are made out of necessity. So I think you kids are on to something.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned knobs. That's even a big deal. Just trying to find, we've had to custom mold a couple knobs, and like even push buttons on the 260 VU. And
I mean, there's been stuff that we've sat there and stared at and just being like, we want to release this thing, but we haven't found the right fucking knobs. Just like, so
totally.
That's what it comes down to. And
it
knobs
make
are
some kind of weird difference. It does make a difference. It's pretty. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Interesting how the way that something looks or feels would make any difference at all. I mean, it shouldn't, but I guess it just makes it feel a certain way. So I dig it.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I've heard that people talk about relic guitars and in particular, like liking the feel of it, and it affects their performance. So
yeah,
there is definitely something to that, for sure.
I play each guitar differently, I think. No matter which one I pick up, like each one has a different playing style, I feel like.
It's usually, I think, sanding the back of the neck or something like that for them. Yeah, so, I mean, it definitely plays a part. You know?
No, for sure. Now, well, how did, like... God, I just stuttered over my words. I apologize about that.
That's all right. Man, I did a podcast for almost, I guess, a year, and I suck at interviews. That's what I realized. It's actually really hard to do. And not that you're doing a bad job, you're doing okay. But
I appreciate it.
It's hard, isn't it? I mean, I find it like when you see a good interviewer, then you're like, man, this son of a bitch is good at that. And I don't really know what that is, but I don't have it. I think you guys are doing fine. Stumble over your words and all.
No, I've been studying like podcasts for years. I mean, I've been a podcast fan probably for, I don't know, like 10 years. I don't know. Like it was just
you got the voice.
Oh, thanks.
He does. He does. You can hear him in the next room all the time.
Yeah, it just travels. It just goes through here. So, but I would listen to podcasts all the time, and it was always like comedy podcasts, like You Made It Weird with Pete Holmes, and
Pete's great.
And back when Joe Rogan wasn't what Joe Rogan is now. We're not throwing shade. He's not listening to this. Who cares? No, just all those podcasts. Plus, I mean, when the pandemic happened, it's like everybody started a podcast. And,
I know, that's when I started mine.
Oh, is that so? Well, I guess that's like coming up to like one of our questions. Like during when the pandemic hit, like how did you keep busy? Like, did that change anything? Musically for you or anything like that?
I had a studio, and it's I think it's really one of the best in the world. It's the old RCA A room in Nashville, and I had that for about 15 years. It's an orchestral size room. I recorded the Nashville Symphony Orchestra in there once. It was made to probably to record massive string sessions for Elvis in the early 60s. And beautiful room, Putnam designed room. And I had that for about 15 years. So every time we would do we do a project, we just make sure that we got another couple pieces of gear, because I started by squatting in the place essentially, just with like some kind of little hard drive thing and one UA preamp, and then pretty soon it was a serious studio. I ended up, getting out of that business right before the Rona hit. And I was in Australia for that time. And so I started like trying to figure out how you use GarageBand because I'd never done shit like that before. Like I really had always had my hands on stuff. So I'm seeing all these plugins with pictures of the old gear on it. A tear would roll up out my eye as I see an 1176 pop up on the screen. I was kind of learning how to use those things just virtually. I guess when all was clear to come out of our houses, I started missing the equipment again. So I started, I guess I got back. I got back in that habit. So I've got a studio over the garage here, and I've got more rock wool than the rest of Nashville put together. I mean, I got fucking 5 feet of rock wool on each wall, 3 feet above, and a few feet behind. Which I have to say is worth every dime. It was pretty cool. Anyway, long way to say that as I got some of my older stuff back, I started getting hooked on your versions, which haven't rotted like food yet. Yet they really are, in my estimation. I'm just a piano player. Most of your gear is way closer to the old stuff than the new versions of the old stuff. You know what I mean? I was super impressed. So I guess I went on a spree. So I was like your number one customer for like a month. I think I just shut y'all down for about a month. I've got it all stacked up here in the room. I got a whole extra storage locker for all his boxes, but it's good stuff. Yeah.
Ben bought us out again.
Yeah.
No, we remember seeing the emails come through and stuff like that. And then I was responding to you like in the middle of the night, and you're like, "Oh, you're on musician time. I like this."
No, yeah, because that's when my drinking starts, and I start buying shit.
I used to drink. I used to do the whole drinking shopping spree thing, but like drunk me, blackout me, well, time traveling me.
Yeah.
That's what I call it. I call it time traveling whenever you black out because you wake up in the future and you're like, what happened?
It's true.
Drunk me would delete all the confirmation emails.
Oh, shit.
So sober me was always surprised and be like, oh, what's this? And like a new record would show up in the mail and I'd be like, oh,
but why was
drunk
you doing that to hide the truth? To hide the sonic truth from
honestly,
sober me?
It's like a Jekyll and Hyde situation. But we're both lovable. It's just one. I like surprises, and drunk me knows that.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, I used to come off a tour. I remember coming off a tour once, and I had purchased maybe about 6 synthesizers from Russia. And they were like old 70 cents from, there's something really kind of romantic about buying, what they were doing behind the Iron Curtain when the rest of us were, doing our thing. And the Russian stuff because it's always got string around it instead of like we do packages with tape. I don't know if you've experienced that. They wrap them with like yarn. So I had like all these big boxes with yarn, and they were Russian synths that didn't have any English writing on them at all. So you didn't know what all the basic parameters were, which I love because if I knew what it was, I wouldn't jack with that. You know what I mean? But like you play with it because you might make a compressor like that. Just put it all in Russian so no one even knows if it's attack or release or whatever.
That'd be rad, actually. Yeah.
The Putin model.
No, totally.
We don't have to go modern.
Spell it with 2 O's. Spell it with 2 O's instead of an apostrophe.
The Putin model. That's our humor right there. That works for me. Yeah. I like that. We'll get you a royalty check for that one.
Don't worry about it. I just be honored.
So out of everything that you've gotten from AudioScape here, like what has been like your favorite like go-to? If you could pick one, I know it's kind of like picking a child, but we all know we all have a favorite child.
It's all up out of my ear here. Yeah, man. I mean, well, they're all just everything I've gotten from you. I'm using all the time. Yeah, I mean, I just use it, so I don't know. I mean, as our friend Warren says, horses for courses. I think they're all pretty special. I mean, I'm looking at. I think that ASA 6A is pretty sick. It does something that nothing else I had was doing, and I expected that maybe it would do a little bit of what the Fairchild, copies I had were doing, but no, it is different. And also, because I ran that RCA Studio for 15 years, I've got a real sweet spot for the red looking RCA ASA knob on there. Just kind of, gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. I think that the Opto is just smooth as fuck. I really love that. And we had a couple of LA2As in the studio at the time, and I don't know. I think I prefer this. I don't know why. I just seems really super quick for things like vocal. For just, I like shit to just turn on and it's like, okay, it's working.
Yeah.
One thing that's really interesting is one thing that's really interesting is the that little spring reverb, the even tempered.
Oh yeah, the XL305R.
Yeah. I was just working on. I just printed lots of tracks just through that and sort of bring it all up just a little bit, and it's pretty great. Yeah. So I don't know. I've got an idea one day for that this made me think of, because I'll tell you if you use it, then fuck it. Otherwise, I'm going to tell Yamaha about it. Maybe they'll want to do it. Because this is all public domain, I guess. Now we're talking out in the open, but I think one could purchase or just go pick up loads of vintage old pianos. Take the damper system so that it just rings. Put it on its side, seal it up, and put the electronics, pick up everything necessary to turn it into a reverb, and it's just piano reverb. Because I've always used my piano that way. Like I often have I've got two mics on the piano, but I open them up and my guitar amp is below. So so I just put a cinder block on the sustain pedal, and then I pick up a stereo version of the piano, just going.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's the same concept with the equally tempered reverb system too. Yeah, it's like this.
Do those ever need to be tuned?
No.
Suppose that they just go out of tune.
No, what happens is they're tuned to. Well, now we use a micrometer or whatever, for them. But like I had to count every single turn on a spring. We got these raw springs, and it's like a mathematical equation to create like that perfect room. It's like an echo chamber more than even a spring reverb, I guess. Interesting. It's a good way to look at it.
I do explain that, because it's not. So it's the even temper part of it. It's not.
It's actually like it's like a mathematical equation to. So like, say it's 12 springs, and we all say they're tuned. So every single spring is a different length, or the count, like each little curve in the spring is a turn. So like one, I forget the exact like numbers, but like, the first one might be like 72 turns. Another one's like 97. Another one's 43, and they're all pulled out and tensioned. And there's, so like in a guitar amp, there's a sled, like one sled with the reverb. So usually there's 2 or 3 springs just flopping around in that sled, and you can change the decay on those. Well, with this, you can't, because it's fixed. So every single one of those springs is fixed, but it's creating like an echo chamber or a room. So like the it's not a complete stereo, like left and right are mirror image of each other. The left side's like one side observation point in a room. The right side's like another one, or they're two separate rooms, or whatever way you want to look at it, which is kind of cool. If you listen to it like critically with headphones, you can hear like the right side bloom longer than the left. Like it's really interesting. One of the coolest things I think we've done, and I don't think there's anyone really cutting springs and doing that this century as well.
No, it's really badass. It has a great sound, and I'm not like I'm not someone who does really very well with too many choices. So for me, going on and seeing every plug-in in the world, from plates to chambers to room simulations, it just drives me crazy. I'd rather just have a couple things I choose from. Back in the studio, we had this EMT plate that I guess had some sort of pedigree. It was kind of famous. So when we bought it, I found myself on an email thread with Bob Ludwig, Phil Ramone, and I think it was Bill Schnee, and someone else of note, and they were all like talking about that specific reverb and how we needed to tighten it up too much on one side to make it sing more and stuff. Anyway, I was trying to figure out how I might just like frame my computer screen and just leave it on that email, because I was so starstruck by these guys.
Yeah, those are interesting. We have a 140. It came from CBS New York. We have one in our shop, or the old Pottery Lane shop that flooded or whatever. But the whole thing flooded. Like, we had this plate that got flooded, and like all the electronics flooded. We put it in like a bucket of rice, turned right on, like no issues at all. Like
Kesha told me to do that once.
Yeah.
What?
Kesha. I threw
Kesha.
I have a song about it. It doesn't matter. But I was getting two phone calls and a text from these two people at once, where I was like the stress sandwich in between. It was some kind of bullshit fight. And I took my phone, which was probably a BlackBerry at the time, and I chucked it in the pool at around midnight at the Sunset Marquee in LA, and it goes bubbling down to the bottom, and there was no one at the pool, so I didn't think there was anyone there. And then this girl comes up, seriously, out of the shadows, and she's got a hoodie on. She came up through bushes. I think she had been ducked out trying to get away from paparazzi, and she's like, "Ben, is that you?" I was like, "What?" She pulls off the hoodie. I swear, it was like this reveal. I was like, "Kesha, the fuck are you doing here?" She goes, "You just threw your phone in the pool?" I was like, "Yeah." She dived in the pool with all her clothes on, and it was in the deep end, and it was like it was flashing, like the flashlight was on. And she brought it up, and she goes, "Quick, put it in rice."
Wow.
So I did, and it didn't work. It was fun. So I'm glad to hear that works on old plate reverbs, because it didn't work on my BlackBerry.
Yeah. Well, maybe the parts they use in that old reverb are better than the BlackBerry, possibly. They won't use that SMT stuff up in space, I know, really. Or the lead-free solder they won't use up in space. But
they didn't develop that for you to replace it back then. They wanted you to have it.
Yeah.
Like, BlackBerries are like, we got a new model coming out in 6 months, so like, don't get it wet.
That's right. Well, the footage of the Apollo stuff where they're playing music on their transistor radio, and it's just kind of floating through the. I'm sure that thing still works.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
I remember gutting.
Y'all should make transistor radios.
Transistor radios. All right. Well, I mean, next we'll put that on the list.
That would actually be a cool.
Yeah, just like a little white one with the little, like the little holes for the speaker, and you can listen to your radio.
Oh, that'd be pretty rad.
Could come back. It'd be good Christmas gifts.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be great, like specialty Christmas time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
got a million ideas, kids. I can't turn it off.
You want to help us with an advent calendar?
I don't even know what that is.
It's like those like calendars. Excuse me. It's like those calendars like around Christmas where it's like on this day you open this part, and then there's like a little trinket or something in there.
Oh,
and it counts down. And Like
I've
would
never heard of
jokingly,
that.
I was just like, we should make a pedal kit. And like each day, like you're like, oh, I got screws on this one. So, and like,
Oh, that's good.
and make it all the way to the end. But everybody knows that when you get an advent calendar, most of the time, especially if you have kids, you're like, that's not making it till Christmas. They're just going to open the whole damn thing right then and there.
Yeah.
So at least that's
Yeah.
what my son did. But,
How old is your son?
He's 5. He's about to turn 6. You actually just missed him. He was here. He left like because his mother came
He's
pick him up because he
6.
can't.
He's 6.
Yeah, he's this many.
He's 6.
He's the kind of guy that looks at you and he goes, "Hi, 7." And you're just like, what?
Yeah, we brought him for the. We had our Festivus
It's
party.
a peace sign and talk to the hand, 90 style.
Exactly. Which, I mean, he will flick you off too if I ask him to. Like, I'll be like, "Hey, show him your magic trick," and his magic trick is just him going like,
That's pretty good.
"That's a
My
pretty
father
good one."
taught me that too.
They,
That's why I'm still in therapy. You're fucking him up. You know that.
I didn't fuck him up. Ryan fucked him up. Like, so, I mean, I'm sure I'm fucking him up my own ways, but not in that way. So I'm fucking him up by telling him to go to bed at a decent time. He's like, "Well, you're staying up," and I'm just like,
I know.
but
Do as I say. Well,
Yeah.
you know that Phil Larkin poem called "Your Parents They Fuck You Up, They Do." You know that?
yep.
It's a great poem. It's serious poem.
Isn't that the one that they quoted in that show, Ted Lasso?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a pretty good one. I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't know if you watched that show, but like it's my savior. But
I've seen it some. It's really great.
it's really good. I mean, well, speaking of TV shows, I mean, like you've done quite a few like soundtracks and what was it? You were hosting something for a little while.
I was doing an a cappella show on NBC called Sing Off.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
How was that
I thought it
experience
was really
for
good. You know, I like to do a thing once or twice.
Yeah.
You know, so that was like 4, maybe 5 seasons, and it was primetime network stuff. I mean, it was big hairy deal. It's the only other time I've ever worn an earpiece. I can't wear these on stage either. I don't like shit in my ear. Yeah, because they had to put you on the earpiece so they could tell you what you forgot to say. Because I didn't like the packages. The packages are when you're supposed to talk about the personal lives of the singers.
Oh.
And I give a shit about that. So at the end, they were like, "Don't forget the package. Don't forget the package." I was like, "What?" I didn't hear that. I was talking about music. I don't give a shit. But it was fun. It was fun. I did some. My favorite TV thing that I did was doing cameos on the show called "You're the Worst."
I was going to ask you about that because it's first off, it's a hilarious show, and the fact that you're playing yourself, but like an exaggerated version of yourself.
That's pretty much me.
It's pretty much you.
No,
All right. So.
it's that's hard to play yourself, and especially a version which is like not only not me, but is so unflattering. I mean, I looked at the script and it's mostly stuff about how jealous I was of Moby for actually selling records, and it is brutal. And I'm supposed to get drunk. All that. My favorite thing was their basic premise, which is because I moved from North Carolina and was living in Los Angeles, that they somehow didn't have booze back in North Carolina. And I was like, they've got all kinds of alcohol out here. It's just ridiculous. And so I would get drunk, and I was so silly. But I enjoyed that. I think my very favorite showbiz story of all time for myself is related to that show, because I lived in Hudson, New York for a few years, and there was a barista that was making me coffee for like 2 years. We really never said a word to each other, as is the case with lots of performative baristas. And she was like, one day she says, "After all this time, I know who you are." I was like, well, yeah, And she goes, "You're the guy that plays Ben Folds on You're the Worst." Like, I'm not even a real person. I was like, I am the person that plays Ben Folds on You're the Worst. Like, to her, it was a character that only existed on that show, which I found super flattering. Anyway.
I mean, when I was watching that show and you popped up, I was like, I remember just going like, "Is that Ben fucking Folds?" Like,
yes, it's so fun to do that stuff. Yeah, I played myself on a TV show that did really well for like until I was on it. But they had me in the ocean for 3 days and in a water tank simulating the ocean for another few days to do pickups. And I was just like having to pop up out of the water. I had 3 divers holding me down so that they'd have me pop up out of the water in this girl's nightmare. And I was supposed to be holding up a book as myself, and she's screaming. I could hear her screaming before I would come up to surface. And then it was like, as soon as I came out of the water, I had to get my hair back because they didn't want my hair falling in my face. And then she's like, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you," in my face. And we just did that over and over again. That was fun.
Sounds like a great day at work.
Yeah, that's why I retreated into my garage studio and just fuck around in the studio where it's quiet and people don't abuse you in such manners.
You got sick of people yelling "fuck you" in your face over and over. You're like, I did that. For
actually, I was
hours.
told that was going to happen on this podcast, and so far you haven't done that. So I'm really.
No.
That sounds like one of those things, though, that like you wake up and you're like, I didn't expect that to happen when I woke up today.
It's like one of those things that like I feel like afterwards you go home and you're like, "Am I on drugs? Like, did I just hallucinate all that today?" Like, it just doesn't seem like a real thing.
I feel like that just walking through life in general sometimes. I do feel like I'm either a brain in a jar or maybe I'm either. You ever have this sensation right as you're hitting the urinal that just for a split second you might be dreaming and you're wet in your bed? Okay, so that never happened to you, but it happens to me sometimes, and it scares the shit out of me. Or not. I'm just at the urinal.
I haven't had that happen. I've had the whole entire being at a urinal, and there's a bunch of other urinals open, and then just random person walks in and has to come right next to me. I've had that happen.
Okay, well that happened to me once, and I looked next to me. And the fellow standing next to me, taking a piss alongside of yours truly, was Buzz Aldrin.
Oh, really?
I shit you not.
He look over at you and he's just like, "How's it hanging, Ben Folds?" And you're like, "Not here."
Yeah, it's just like some legend holding his dick next to me. It was amazing, though. It's like I knew he was there at this event, so it wasn't completely out of left field. But I just wasn't expecting to look up and it was Buzz Aldrin, and I didn't stare or anything. He was just like, yeah.
You're like, "Yep,
I've been to space."
Yeah, I've been to space. You're like, I've written about space.
I've been on the moon.
I've written about the moon.
It's pretty amazing. That's the kind of thing that makes me think that I'm dreaming. It's just a dream.
There's this whole entire thing that everything's a simulation right now. Right?
Yeah, people think like that. There was actually a philosopher who was claimed to have sort of philosophically proven that in theory. I can't remember what his name was, but it came up in a big fancy magazine like The Conversation or something.
Oh yeah, no, I think I've read like the internet article version of that.
Right.
Yeah. So, which I mean, anything that you pop up on the internet, you're like, "Oh yeah, it must be true."
Of course it is.
But no, I lean towards that stuff. Let's see. So Justin's not here today. Justin actually ended up probably having a case of the Rona. I don't know.
Shit.
But no, he's sick, so we're saying get well, Justin.
Get well. Yeah.
But he did have some questions for you that he wanted to know, and like one of the ones that he had was like, what out of all the places that you've played and performed throughout your whole entire career, what is your favorite spot?
Well, I don't really have favorites of anything, which is it's interesting because that's a legit question that I never mind being asked, but I don't have. I mean, recently a standout gig was Royal Albert Hall in London, and there aren't many places that are that stunning. Like from the stage to look out into that environment is pretty crazy. And I've done it a couple times in my career, but it's always a standout. I don't really, you know, like most musicians, it's like I get to a place I don't really feel like I'm there. I just
Yeah.
I walk on, do thing, and then get back in the bus. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a favorite place. It's different each time. I think there's something interesting about being able to sort of measure the vibe of a city just at the gig, actually, without knowing anything about the town itself, is often kind of an interesting feel, because each city does feel different. But I wish I had an answer for him, but I don't. I hope he drinks plenty of water for the rest.
I think he'll
lots of
drink.
water and rest. Yeah.
I'm sure you'll. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're over it now, so we could probably speak about it. I mean, like, I think the first times we were talking, I think you were like, "Yeah, I'm sick with COVID," so I'm just buying
Fucking
shit.
hell. Yeah, that's God. That was right. Yeah, I was self-medicating at midnight with COVID, and I think that's when I bought the little even-tempered spring reverb, and probably the 260, which is pretty great too. That I don't know if many people have talked to you about what works with piano, but oddly, that compressor, just tapping it, is really super cool for holding rock piano.
That makes that tracks. That makes sense, especially with it's great with anything percussive too. Obviously. So.
That's what I was going to say. It's the weight of the hammers. If I try to listen like an engineer, I suck. If I listen like a musician, like what does it feel like when I'm playing it? It has to do with hammer weight when I'm listening to it come back. It's like I see the hammers and then I kind of feel the space of the room behind it, those two things, right? Yep. And this really kind of focuses the hammers in an interesting way. So, I often try to find out what things work well with piano, and so few people, you can always find a million opinions about how to mic and compress and record a guitar, but not so much with the piano. But I would say that this thing is really just, but not too much, like almost like the needle's just almost doing nothing. And I feel the hammers come into focus on the right tune. It's really cool.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. A lot of these compressors in particular, you really, don't have to hit them that hard to get, the best out of them, the bus as well. Yeah. Just start tickling that needle, or even on the 260, usually people use those lead meters more than the actual meter itself. There's so many of the original 160 VUs that just have a dead meter, and people just don't even care. They're just like, just they look at the LEDs, the above and below thresholds.
Like it's doing or not. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it makes sense. I used to have an old, I guess it was a 160A, maybe. And I have that little bus compressor. It lives on my master bus, as do the Pultec EQP A's. And interestingly, in the middle, the way I've got it set up, I really like. It's super intuitive for what I do, because the middle is I have an old Pultec EPQ 1A3. It's silver.
Nice.
And that's for the vocal, but then I've got chained into it the mid-range MEQ. I can show you. What's cool about that for me is that, I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
Earpiece. I hate this goddamn. Oh, I stuck the wrong part in my ear. That's the problem. That's fine. I tried to stick the horn in my ear. I'm going to have to go to the doctor now. Yeah, so this thing here, I should turn the screen off. That's actually really
cool. Yeah, using those in series, using the MEQ in series after it.
Totally. It's exactly what I'm doing. And this is after. So this first and then this. And then basically that way I can dip what I need to on. This is just for my vocal. So for any vocals I'm doing, this is the deal for that. And then to the right and the left, I've got your EQPs, and those are for either the bus or my piano, depending.
Very cool.
So it feels really good, and it's interesting to hear the old Pultec next to your stuff, because obviously my old Pultec has to some degree morphed over the years and rotted like food a little bit, and it's very special, but it's different. I kind of know what to tap and what not to tap, but it's still a great piece. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And do you find, so is this mainly,
of course,
like,
there's my speakers.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Little cubes. That's the, do you find yourself using them pretty much solely for tracking, like a lot, like you're talking about the hammers and the 260 VU? Is that all in series while you're tracking, or are you committing to tape basically with the gear going in?
Yes, I like to do that. Yeah, that's so going in on the piano, I'll shape it a little bit with the EPQs, and that would be after the 260. Or if it's a ballad kind of thing, something slower, I'll use those ear 660s. They're
nice,
gooier sounding, and the 260s more is quicker, different musicality. But I do those two things. A long time ago when people started passing around all those stems of Queen songs and just like all the original stuff, like it becomes obvious how committed to tape shit can be. And I've kind of in the world of too many options, I've just find it easier for me to just find something that's feeling musical. I can hear it coming back that way, and just I stick with it.
Yeah, that's definitely. I feel like there's tracking with these tools is something that's just highly underrated, and I think everything, as things sort of moved to more in the box, people got afraid to commit for a long time.
Yeah,
and I think
that's right.
Without sounding like our music kind of suffered. Obviously, I think subsequently because we could do all these different options after the fact. It's just like.
Yeah.
Pick and commit, man.
I mean, I've been guilty of it. I'm like if having too many options and sitting there and just going through.
Yeah.
No, nothing gets done.
No, it's true. Well, I mean, there are definitely times where you're like, damn, I wish I had just recorded that flat, because now I'm stuck with that stupid thing that I did to it. But, I've done so much recording on tape, from the beginning of my career, that it's kind of baked in my head that things just happen. Like if you're punching in, and either you or the engineer has now kind of mangled your punch, you have to now make the punch wider, and you have a new part. Oh, well, shit happens. And it's kind of fun to go with that some, as long as you don't make stupid choices. I mean, like the thing about these passive EQs is they're not like extreme by nature. If you just open up the top a little bit, and usually the piano, because I use ribbon mics, I find myself sort of rolling off a little bit in the bottom end. It's not a huge deal. You just go into tape with something that now you don't have to think about,
I mean, that's a fact. So right there.
Is there, so you mentioned the RCA Studio. Is there anything you miss a lot, or sort of from that experience and moving? I know, I think I was reading 2016 you moved out of there. Is that?
Yeah. What I missed about that place, was being so spoiled as to think that you can just put a mic on something and it sounds good, because the room sounded so good. And my engineer and I, we got super spoiled, and we had been recording that way, and we went out to work on a DreamWorks thing sometime in the aughts, and we were working at a big fancy studio out in LA, and we were finding we had to keep fucking with stuff. We had to EQ and mess around with the mics more, because we were just used to going to put that on it, and it sounds good. So I think that in this era, probably the thing that the kids don't know about more than anything is the value of a great room. And that is just like, especially when you're a piano player, that you can track with drums in the same room, you can hear each other. There's not a crazy long reverb tail to the room. It's just very even sounding, and you can play dynamically to that. Very often what I found recording that room, especially with string quartets, was the value of one mic on multiple instruments. It makes everyone knows where the mic is, and they're kind of playing to it as if it's the ear, and it's all phase happy. But you can't do that in a shitty room, which is why I purchased this year or last year's stock of rock wool for this place, so that I didn't have bass reflection. There's none of that. This shit sounds good in here. It's one of the best sounding control rooms ever, and it's in my house.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh man, no. Yeah, we don't have the rock wall here.
No. This is actually our final QC room. We got like a bunch of computers and interfaces set up in here, and this is just like one of the desks that I sit at and just spot check things real quick. We moved in, and we still yet to set up a proper set, but
yeah, well,
for our podcast,
we're working on it right now, and and I mean, this will be I'm just gonna do it right now. Like, whenever you're in Florida, if you're ever near Daytona or passing through, if you ever want to stop by and see how everything's done, you're more than welcome. Like, that'd be happy to host you.
That'd be fun. No, that'd be fun.
I don't know if you've ever been to Daytona, but
I have years ago. I went to University of Miami, which is not anywhere close to you, but it's down there in the long state of Florida, and
it's like a quick 3.5 hour drive.
That's actually not that bad. I thought about it. I thought about at some point maybe going to Key West so I could see the Ernest Hemingway stuff. Maybe I'll drive down and drop through.
Oh, that's awesome. The museum down there, the Hemingway Museum. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and then there's Truman stuff, I think, too.
Oh, yeah.
I've just never been to the Keys. Like, I don't know. I've lived here mainly my whole entire life. Never gone to the Keys.
One of the coolest places in Florida for sure. And like, there's people that just go there and they just stay. They don't leave. And you can see why when you get down there, you know.
All right. Yeah. Well,
you can see why.
When I'm ready to retire, I'll just go down there and just be like, all right, leaving the family home. I'm going to become a nudist and drink, because there's a whole part there that's like a nudist colony.
There is a nudist colony.
Become a nudist.
That's what I strive for in my life. I'll put that on my vision board one year. Become a nudist.
That's actually, that could be kind of a good ad for you guys. Just have 2 or 3 of you obviously working on the equipment, just bare ass to the camera and like a soldering gun. And then actually the AS for AudioScape could just be AS, and you assume that the other S is obscured by one of your butts. It could be, it would really... I got lots of ideas. You can have that one too.
That's a good one.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I wonder how cool that would fly with people. Oh no, down in Florida it's really weird. So
yeah. Oh no, look, they don't mind that, just as long as you ain't got no books in your place. You're all right.
Nah, we're very much so like a no book kind of place around here.
Y'all aren't one of those woke companies, are you?
Oh, us? Are we woke?
I think we're too busy to have any sort of like serious stance on much of it. I mean, I know personally, I'm
you know what? That's really nice.
Yeah, like it's just like, yeah, I'm like, I've reserved myself to thinking that there's other people that can carry that torch of whatever torch they want to carry, and this is my torch, and I'm just going to focus on that and get a little bit better at that every day, hopefully,
Well,
I deleted the news.
You don't want to
from
turn
my
off
phone.
half your customers either. They were like, I don't go to AudioScape for my political opinions. Y'all shut up and sing. No, wait a minute, you don't sing. Shut up and
Shut up and make shit for the singers.
Shut up and make shit.
Go buy some
Dixie
more
chicks.
new old stock tubes.
Yeah, go get yourself some new old stock tubes and components. I want to buy something. Not here.
I want to buy some.
Not here for you to shove Megan and Harry down my throat. They didn't give birth to a V comp. What is wrong with you?
Oh yeah, we did. We did that, right? Yeah, we did.
We did that. We got shadow banned from Instagram for doing we did an inventory update. We're like, let's be funny with this one, and it was the royal family showing off their kid for the first time, but we took the kid away and put a V comp there instead, and made the face like the meter and everything. It's horrifying.
Amazing.
And
that's wonderful. I love that. Well, I bet you their kid didn't have like a good double and triple setting with that kind of distortion.
Definitely no glitch mode unless you dropped it.
I like to zoom in on the face though, because it was just like the meter super up close,
super up
but
close.
you could see like the.
I still have those. I'll have to send them over to you. But no, we got shadow banned from Instagram. And then we got emails from multiple customers being like, I don't come to you guys for this. Like,
we didn't think it was political. Yeah.
We didn't look at it as a political thing. We just looked at it as a funny meme thing. I was like, what's good in pop culture
That's
right
ridiculous.
now?
That's ridiculous. Well, I mean, the problem is people don't even know what political means. It's based on policy. And if you guys are espousing your policy, opinions, then they'd have an issue. But that's bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't trying to like be like one side or the other. We were just like, here's a funny photo that we made.
Yeah.
Here's something that we wasted some time on.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
But I'll tell you what.
Well, I think that sounds like a great idea. I like that and approve of it. And just because you did that, I think I'll probably buy another piece of your gear at some point. I just got to start drinking. So
as soon as you start drinking, what
you should do a tutorial on buying the AudioScape gear, because sometimes people are like, I can't get it, and be like, even a drunk me can get it.
Yeah. I was like, a drunk Ben Folds can pick up a Golden 58 on his first try. You can figure this shit out too.
No, you got to have 5 iPhones going, and you just like buy now. While your kids are sitting there going, what are you doing? It's like, just never mind. That's why I've got five burner iPhones. It's good.
Somebody's like, you a drug dealer? Just like, no, I'm a drinker.
I just get lucky. The Golden 58, you guys gave me a good tip on that, which was running one channel into the next.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, I told you to make sure that you, did that, because that's
good fun.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, Chris was the one that tipped me off on that. Like, he was just like, he's like, make sure that they're knowing, like, to run, like, one channel into the other. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, chaining 2 preamps together, they're always like, it's almost like a delay pedal when it oscillates. They're all just unique and different with the way the tube grit, the way it just gets excited in that. It's just one of those geeky things that I enjoy, I guess.
No, it's a fun tone, and yeah, I'm glad you said that. I played with that some. It's fun.
So I'll get a little off topic now, I guess. Right? Should we do that? I mean, like, all right. So obviously, the old RCA building is a historical building now. Like,
yeah,
it is
historical.
Is now. Yeah. Which great job on like I guess like helping get that done.
That was quite a campaign. Yeah, it worked out for us. It doesn't normally work out, that kind of campaign. We got lucky.
Well, no, yeah, definitely got lucky. But since it is a historical building and there has been so many, legends that have gone through there and everything. Have you ever seen a ghost in there?
I recorded William Shatner in there. He kind of
Wait a second.
seemed
You
like
recorded?
a ghost.
Yeah. Holy fuck. Gotta get Ian in here. Ian's one of our guys here. He's a big Star Trek fan. And I'm sure he would get a good kick out of that.
No, I think it's actually a really great record. It was quite the, it's quite the turnstile of interesting guests on that record. It is oddly sort of a cult classic out there. I have a lot of people, especially really eccentric people of note, that will tell me that that's just kind of one of their favorite records. And we made that in the RCA room, probably around 2005, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Pretty gorgeous record, I think. My favorite moment was, and this tells you a little bit about gear in general, is that I wanted Shatner to have a shout off with Henry Rollins. So Henry came in, and it was Henry and Bill standing there on two identical 47s. And the song was called "I Can't Get Behind That," and they're just going like just like two bulls, just spitting bullets. But Bill sounded massive, and Henry kind of didn't. Henry kind of sounded small, because even though Henry's like a big, powerful fellow, Bill's voice is like that fucking God voice from the 60s. And it's just, they don't make them like that anymore. So we just started, eroding the chain for Bill to cut him down to size. So because Bill's voice was always bigger had more low end than the bass guitar. So you're always just kind of having to get him out of the way. So we just started making him small. Eventually we had this old shitty, those golden mics that are like those old EV mics that they used in churches, in Catholic churches.
Yeah.
We finally had one of those on Shatner, and we kept the 47 and all the tube shit on Henry, and suddenly they were sounding about the same size.
Wow. That's actually really cool.
Were those like old field recorder mics, those EV ones, or some, I remember like the 664s and the
oh yeah.
They called them the Catholic mic because they were made. There were silver versions of this EV, and then apparently the Catholic Church liked the way they looked, and so they had to make a gold version for the Catholics.
That's weird. I'm a recovering Catholic, and I remember those.
Yeah,
amongst other things.
Yeah, they had lots of uses, but for this one, I used it as a microphone.
You still there? Did we lose
My dog doesn't get my hammer out. It's fine.
Oh,
that just hung in the air like perfectly. I love that. My favorite thing is when you tell a joke and it's like everyone knows it's a joke and no one laughs. Very good.
Yeah.
And then there's the dog barking in the back, which is the equivalent to your clap. Hey, it's 3:58, and people are asking where their piano player is. I gotta go in a minute. We got anything else to talk about before I split?
All right. We'll do just a quick one. What's your favorite song of all time?
I don't have favorites of anything.
Oh yeah, that's right. You don't have favorites. Shit.
I'm sorry. I wish I did.
Which song of yours is like, it might not be like the crowd favorite or anything like that, but to you are like, this is the one?
I think the realistic version of that is it's different every night. It's like you've discovered something about a song. If you've written it well enough, you discover something about it for like maybe one or two nights, and I would put it in my mind. It's like, that one, that's good. And then 2 or 3 nights later, like, no, that's not the one. So they all kind of take turns as something about it. It's like sometimes it can even be just the way the place sounds or the way the audience receives it. Other times it's a place you might be in life, or a place your voice might be, where suddenly it's like, wow, I actually don't suck on those 3 notes tonight, And that's so I think the realistic version of that for a performer is that it really does change night to night. I've never had a song that lasted as my number one song to do for any more than 2 or 3 nights.
That's a great answer.
That is a great answer. And all right, and last but not least, aliens. Are they real?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I've never seen one.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's all. Enough. And I know one son of a bitch that's gone to space. I took a piss with one that I told you about previously. And
that'd be a good question.
And of course, Shatner did go to space.
Oh,
he went up in Jeff Bezos's beer can, and and came down and we worked on a piece of music about that with some poetry about it, and I had him perform it with the National Symphony Orchestra. It was gorgeous.
Oh, that's amazing.
Is there somewhere we can see that or listen to that?
Well, no, because it was tied up. The rights to that got really tied up between a couple of entities, but they do want to make an album of it and put out the video. There was a massive film crew for it. It was all recorded, and then it just got shelved because no one could agree on the rights somehow. But we did that last year, and it was really, really pretty special because you've got this fellow who's an icon for, the creativity of what could be space, Captain Kirk, and he's in his 90s. And he gets on the beer can. They shoot his ass up into the first layer of what's considered outer space. Took about 20 minutes for him to come down, I think. And he came down just talking about death. And it was deep. It really was. I mean, when I saw him doing that, I was like, we have to make a piece of music to this. So I rang him up and said, would you like to do something with the National Symphony while this is fresh on your mind? And it's pretty nice.
Wow. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, Ben,
pretty great. I hope it comes out.
Well, we're not going to take up any more of your own time, but like this was great. Maybe one day we'll get to do this again. Like if your schedule ever lines up, or whenever you're in Florida, like it would be great to have you come by and
do a factory tour. Yep.
Yeah, we'll go back to the tour.
I admire what you guys do, and I think it's like it's creative, and it allows it inspires creativity, and even the way you sell that shit by making it look like there's only one you can get forever is very creative in itself. And I think you're entrepreneurs and gentlemen, and I'm happy to meet you. So
yeah, it's great meeting you as well. And well, I mean, I know you probably never watched any of these, but will you do our famous sign off?
Which is what? Fuck off?
Perfect.
All
right, y'all. Good to meet you. Fuck off.